Well, good morning and welcome to day 9. We stayed in a forest somewhere in Tennessee, and we have our traveling companion came back early this morning. So we had to break camp very quickly. Lightning and rain moved through. It's pretty well settled down now. So we're packed up and ready to go.
Absolutely. A little damp, but spirits aren't. Just another day of excitement and adventure.
Yeah, so last night we ran pretty late. We ran till about, what, 10 o'clock?
No, it was almost 11.
Almost 11. Yeah, so it was a good night ride. Haven't had that yet with these bikes, so that was kind of fun.
Yep. So we'll see what today brings.
We'll see you on the trail. This morning we got up rather quickly and broke camp before the rain hit. It was forecast to come in early. It actually beat that by about 45 minutes. There was a lot of thunder and lightning coming into us, but by the time it got over us, that was done, and we haven't heard any since. That's kind of nice. If you recall from yesterday, we spent a lot of time in the other kind of water from the ground, in the puddles and streams, so our boots are very wet. And Jack, how are your feet doing this morning?
Right now my feet are wonderful.
Why is that?
I use they're a waterproof sock. I wish I remembered the brand of them, but they're a waterproof sock. They have neoprene on the outside, so what they will do is the outside of the sock will help absorb some water from the boot itself, but the inside, these things are just toasted dry. You can put these on and you can wade out water as deep as the sock will let you, and you will not get wet.
Yeah, and I'm doing something similar. I have a Gore-Tex over sock from Climb. So you wear a normal sock and then you slip this over, and so we're dry. It's really good, and then of course the heat from our feet will help dry the boot. When we were looking at boots, I was trying to make a choice. I knew I wanted the Alpine Star Tech 7, and they have an enduro version, which is a more aggressive sole, a tread, which would be nice. These things are pretty slippery, and they're waterproof. But I chose not to go with that because they don't breathe as well, which means think sweaty foot in the heat and just a hotter foot. And I'd rather let the boot breathe, so I opted to go with the sock route.
All right, so I went with the Alpine Star Tech 3s. The reason for it is the guys at Brothers in Brainerd, they kind of warned me a little bit away from the boots that a lot of adventure riders are wearing, just because they said they do great for that, but they're not as protective. But Alpine Star makes some great boots that way. Knowing the riding we were going to do, they said if you're looking at the best for your dollar, they said the Tech 3s are still out there, and they're still being worn today. They don't have a lot of the same, they don't have as many buckles and blah blah blah, but it is really a good boot. Can't go wrong with either one.
Right, your point of protection is a good one. Adventure boots are better for walking, and they are waterproof. They have some great attributes. But if you're in hard terrain or have something like a bike land on you, or dealing with rocks, or you're like between rocks and a bike, a full-on motocross boot is the most protective. We find that the Alpine Star are very comfortable. Well, the tread is super slippery, and you have to be careful when it's wet, like this morning when I fell down when I stepped on a wet log. But they're comfy to walk in. We've never had a break-in period. They were comfortable from day one.
Yep, I enjoy mine. I have no problems walking in them. They're great. So why did I see a little burn on your boot?
Yeah, so I was
Speaking of protection.
Yeah, speaking of protection, I was riding in Florida, and going through some deep ruts of sand, 10 or 12 inches deep, and kind of hooked the side bank a little bit. It took me down, and as I landed, one of my boots, one of my legs was trapped under the pipe of the bike, the exhaust pipe, very hot, and I was face down in the sand, one leg trapped, and so it took me about 60 seconds or a little longer to find a way to get my other leg under me enough to lift me and the bike up and off my boot. In the meantime, that pipe melted the plastics on the bike where I was pressing that also into the muffler, and it also melted plastics on my boot. So you can just imagine if you didn't have good leg protection, it would have been a very serious burn. So thank you Alpine Star for the protection. So not only do we have the socks to keep our feet dry in the wet boot, we're doing some things to get the boots drier quicker.
One of the things that we've used, old trick that I learned early on in my nursing career, is newspaper. You'll hear that you put newspaper in your boots and it helps to dry them out. Well, they're very absorbent for one thing, but in the making of newspaper, they go through such a hot printing press that the paper is actually sterilized or fairly close to it. So what that means is you're not adding in any extra bacteria or contaminants into your boots, and it tries to help get some of that odor and some of that other stuff out of there. So tool tip for all this wet rain and riding, newspaper.
So when we stopped at Vic's yesterday to get some refreshments, we asked them for a newspaper. They didn't have any newspapers for sale, but we asked them if they had some old newspapers, and they did provide some to us. So we had enough to stuff the boots, a couple times, and so we stuffed it all the way from the toe up through the ankle and lower boot, and it did take a lot of water out. It was actually, the last one I took out was just dripping with water. So every little bit helps, but we would expect some good drying today as long as we don't get too much rain and go through another puddle.
The newspaper thing, that information came from one of the home care nurses that I knew. She says that she was going into a really filthy house, or a house that unfortunately is not well kept up. They always were encouraged to take newspaper so that they could lay it out and sit on it, because then it would protect them as a barrier.
We are here with Johnny. He turned 70 today, so happy birthday, Johnny.
Thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a great day. You too. See ya.
This morning at breakfast, we met Daryl Adams. He's the man holding the cane, and sitting to his right is his friend Hermit. Daryl was a security guard for 32 years until a dock door fell on him and injured his back. That caused him to stop working at the age of 84. He's currently 87. He said at one point he owned a motorcycle shop, and he seemed very fond of the Harley-Davidson Panhead. And he said he still has a lot of parts for those motorcycles laying around his shop. This decoration on his cane is a raccoon penis bone, and he said his grandfather used that as a toothpick. This is a picture of Erin and her husband Robert, and Robert shared a story in which he was riding his motorcycle around a corner and went a little wide and got into a rut that crowded him into a guardrail and nearly flipped him down a 300-foot cliff. So we're glad, Robert, that you survived. It was nice meeting both of you, and I hope you have good rides in the future that don't involve guardrails. And speaking of corners that try to treat people rudely, here's a path that is created by Jack's rear tire as he slid off this slippery, rain-soaked road and laid the bike down on its left side. It was a fairly minor get-off, no injuries to Jack, but pretty good injury to the bike. As it ends up, it damaged some internal shifting mechanisms in the engine, and he was unable to shift out of first gear. So we spent the rest of the day determining how to get the bike trail worthy again and back on the road.
Yeah, once the back tire started sliding, it was no no hope for it. So it was just laid down.
Oh, Jack, you're setting the world on fire today with your speed, man. That's a good way to enjoy the day.
All right, so hey guys, we're here at Grassy Mountain Motorsports. We had a little incident this morning, laid the bike down on some tar road on the wet. 9 days of riding, 7 days of rain.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, so, but that's the way it is on the TransAmerica Trail. So anyway, we're here at Grassy Mountain Motorsports with, go ahead and introduce yourself.
April Bird.
And I'm Mel. Everybody calls me Melvin Bird.
Nice. They're helping us out. They're going to get us a lift over to a Honda dealer because evidently, what'd they do?
I slid down and jammed it up in first gear and going down, and it just jammed it bad.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of work on this one. So hopefully we'll get back on the road here shortly. But big shout out to these guys. If you're ever in, what is your town?
Chatsworth, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah,
Stop
right.
in. Very commendable. They are great people. So look them up if you're in the need.
Yeah.
Boy, that's
Yeah,
rough, though, man.
and I just geared down that bike for the hills, so
No need to leave there, just first.
just first.
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. And we'll get this thing loaded down.
For some reason we can't.
Everybody was concerned that we were going to have to pull the case apart, break the case, and they don't have parts. They don't have the tools for that at Grassy Mountain. So we came over here to Dalton. We went down to, what's the name of the place? Kirk? Yeah, Kirk Motorsports, Honda dealer. Talked to them, same thing. And everybody's booked back up. 4 weeks, everybody we talked to. We called around to different shops. Nobody could either break the case or they didn't have time. But Sandy, the parts guy there, he was so great to work with. He kind of gave us some ideas. This is Sandy, and we are at Kirk Cycle, helping us out because we had a little issue this morning, as you've already found out.
Dalton, Georgia.
Dalton, Georgia. And Sandy's helping us out, trying to get us back on the road, doing everything he can. He's giving us a couple of quarts of oil here to help out, so appreciate it, everything that's going on.
You're very welcome.
See what we can do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then we called out to Trinidad, Colorado. Talked to the guys at Topar Racing, mechanic there. I think his name is Troy. Great guy. He kind of said it's on the right side of the engine. You don't have to pull the engine. You don't have to split the case. The Hondas are known for this little damage from a gentle layover. It just smacks the end of that shift lever and can cause the dog ears in there to stretch. We tore it apart in the motel here, and we have found the problem. We are about to see if this easy fix could be it. So we pull this out. This is the shifting mechanism. It does not look bent there. Looky there. See these cogs? And if you look real close, they've been stressed right there. Tomorrow afternoon, we should be back on the trail again.